Peace, wholeness, love, and light to the tribe. Okay, I'm Nudiamonds here with a Saturn going into Aries energy reading. I hope everyone out there is doing well and feeling this beautiful, vibrational, high vibrational energy. Okay, the energy is so high. I never seen so many people in the comments like, I feel this energy. Everything is shifting. I am shifting. Okay. So this is all about that cycle ending, right? That old cycle ending and a new cycle beginning. Okay. And I say this because Saturn is all about a 29-year transition, transformation, transmutation. Okay. And this is just about going into yourself, right? Having that discipline, having that patience, right? Having that sense of self, right? Having that structure when it comes to yourself. And also it governs time, right? That chronos, right? And it also governs how people view us, right? This is all about that 10th house, right? That Capricornian energy. And it's all about that boss, that go-getter, your career, and that public eyes view, okay? But it's all about yourself as well. Because if you're doing great, people are going to see that, right? You don't have to say it. You can feel the energy. You can see the energy. You don't have to say, oh, I'm a boss, right? We can see that you're a boss. We can see the essence, right? We can see that you're a goat, right? So this is just all about getting in tune with yourself, right? And mastering your mind, right? And I say that because it is going into Aries, Saturn going into Aries. So this is one of the slowest planets in transition, the outer planets of the generation going into Aries. And we all know Aries is about that fast pace, impulsive, radiant, it's the prince, right? It's the king and it's the prince, right? So I feel like this is all about that handing over that royalty crown down. If you had the discipline, if you had the patience, if you done the work, right? On yourself, on your mind, on your views, then this will be a time where you see great elevation and all about harmonizing that energy and balancing that energy as well. And if you've been balancing that energy, you will receive rewards, right? If you've been doing that shadow work, putting in that internal work, putting in that physical work for that raise, putting in that physical work on your career, investing in yourself as an entrepreneur, investing in to being an artist, right? And you believe and you know and you've done the work, you're going to see some type of reward come this transit, right? So just get ready. There is a lot of energy here, but we're going to deep dive into it, okay? I got my notes ready. All right. So this is going to be, you got to have patience, right? Patience to receive the medicine. All right. And that's a double entendre, right? Because as we heal ourselves, we have to have patience, right? As the healers do the healing, they have to have patience with the patients. Okay. So this is all about giving yourself grace and not rushing anything as things are changing. Times are changing. The times have changed, you guys. Everything is shifted and there is a big change that is here and it is here for us. We are changing and let's just jump into the energy because like I said, it's a lot here. And excuse me, the last time Saturn was in Aries, it was 1996. Okay. What a time to be alive, right? That was like a golden era, a golden age for music, for melanated people, for movies, for actions, for dreams, for whatever you have been working on manifesting. This was literally like a portal into the 2000s, right? But also a lot of fear mongering, right? Due to, 1999, we're going into the millennium. The power is going out. Oh my God, everybody, right? So this is all about using what you know to achieve what you can at this time, okay? Because that is that 10th house energy, right? Using things to get to the next level, right? Achieving things to have that sense of confidence, right? And it's also that I am, right? So I am achieving, I am moving forward, I am using what I know to go forward at this time, right? And this is the start of something great because not only is Saturn on a cardinal sign, right? That's cardinal air. It is also attributed to Aries, which is a cardinal fire, right? And I'm sorry, it's cardinal earth, right? And I say that because I was thinking of Aquarius, because Aquarius used to be ruled by Saturn, right? So it's this dualistic nature, right? This generational energy here. And also, Mars used to be ruled by Scorpio, right? So it's this extra play here, this fixed energy here when it comes to starting new things. Like I said, if you have that discipline, if you've been working on yourself, working on that lower nature, working on that higher nature, working on that immaturity, but also letting go of past things, not being stuck in old ways, right? To transform, to go to this new cycle, there's going to be a lot of abundance here. Okay. I said this is also a full 360 moment, right? Because like I said, the last time it was in Aries was in 1996 and it is 2025. So there is something that is coming full circle. This could even be you, right? You remembering past things, having the sense of nostalgia, right? Wanting to go back to childhood, teenage, whatever, right? Time, space you was in. I'm getting a sense of that, time capsule energy, right? So going back in time to remember things, right? Also this like past life remembrance, right? So you may be gaining certain memories, having certain dreams, the sense of this activation happening from within, right? Just pay attention to the signs at this time, okay? I had also noticed that this is a huge cycle. So this is like cycles within cycles being complete because Saturn moves a sign every 2.5 to 3 years, right? So this is a huge cycle completion. My ears just started ringing. I don't know if y'all heard that. Or maybe that's a TV. Wow. It says crown chakra light body activations. I love this. Wow. Okay. Confirmation. And I wore my purple because I'm like, this is royalty, right? Purple rain, right? That could, because Saturn, I'm losing my train of thought, but I'll go back there in a second. Saturn is, and it's also like this timeline hopping, right? This going back to the future essence here, right? So yeah, Saturn is attributed to royalty, right? Saturn has those rings around it, right? The ring, the crown, the corona, right? It's also attributed to melanin, right? Carbon with that six-sided hexagon on the top and the bottom of the gravitational pull of Saturn, right? So this is all about that carbon releasing things to get to the next level. And also darkness, right? There's a few things popping up. It's giving me that Metatron's cube, right? The Kabbalah cube, right? As this sense of worshiping Saturn, right? Some people like to attribute Saturn to Satan, but that is just the darkness in the light, right? There has to be polarity for certain things to blossom and to bloom. And I say this because in tarot, you know, the devil card is ruled by Capricorn, and that is a sense of this darkness, this power, this low vibrational energy. But when I think of melanin, when I think of space, it is black, it is darkness, it is that divine feminine essence going within to ascend, right? So I just had to make that point really quick because it was on my spirit. Again, if you guys haven't checked out my full breakdown on this carbon energy, right? That 666 energy is all about your perspective, right? Because 666, they like to demonize it. And yes, it could be, like I said, looked at in a negative way. But also, 666 is 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, which creates the carbon molecule, right? The carbon structure was the base molecule for everything in this realm, right? When we breathe, when we breathe out to release, we release carbon dioxide, right? The trees give off carbon dioxide, right? H2O, right? Oxygen, CO2, right? It's here, right? So it's in everything, right? There's polarity in everything. We are in the realm of polarity. I just wanted to break that energy down. But going back to my initial point, this is a huge cycle that is clearing from I like to say 3-year cycle, right? So something that kind of started in 2021, 2022, there you're closing that cycle, right? So whatever, kind of think back to whatever you were going through, right? This was a huge subconscious healing purge. And I say that because Saturn was in Pisces, right? That deals with the subconscious mind, old beliefs, right? Old systems, old structures, old dreams, right? And this is the birth of that dream. This is the birth of that new you. This is that transformation, right? You closed out that old cycle if you've been doing the work, right? You feel more light, you feel more radiant, you feel more vibrant, right? And that's that new beginning, right? Doing those detoxes, those purges, having that discipline. Discipline is key here with this Saturn, right? People like to say, oh, that's Saturn's return. Every 29 years, 27 to 29 years, you feel a shift in your life, right? Think back to when you turned 27, right? How did your whole world shift, right? Then go back to, what is that, 47? I'm 27, 4, 54. That midlife crisis, they like to say, right? People like to say, oh, I'm going through a midlife crisis. But that's that Saturn returning again. If you ain't learned the lesson the first time, you most definitely will be having a midlife crisis because you didn't have the discipline. You weren't paying attention to get the work done, right? And then 27, 11, 2, 7, 8, 87, right? That 88, right? 87, 88. This should be a golden year for you, right? You should have no worries. You should be on cloud 9, living your best life, right? At 88, you should be retirement on a beach somewhere if you done the proper work to get there. And it's crazy. I was talking about the cube, right? And my son got his Rubik's Cube down there. So, right, if you've been doing the work, and my son has been working on this like crazy, right? He ain't got it all together, but he's been working on it, right? So if you've been doing the work, you will see some changes in a positive way, right? That Rubik's Cube, figuring it out, right? Figuring it out, solving a puzzle to life, to yourself. That's what that Saturn is about. And that Aries is all about, if you've been doing it, you will see reward. I'm a firm believer, if you do the work, you receive the reward. And this is that time. We're in that time space. We're in that time period. Okay. All right. I'm done. I'm done with that. So let's break down this energy, because I haven't even looked at my notes, because it's just like spirits like this and this, this and this and this. And wait, go back to this, right? Don't forget nothing, right? Everything you learned along your journey is for a purpose. It all serves a purpose, right? So don't think, oh, I took a loss. That loss is a lesson. And them lessons is blessings, okay? To add on to the journey, to add on to your life cycle, right? To add on to that wisdom, to that knowledge, okay? All right. So I said, excuse me. I said this is also about, like I said, going into the DNA, doing that transformational work, right? That doing that, getting down to the structure, right? To the bone, bad to the bone, right? And it's due to certain programming, certain cycles, certain karmic lessons that weren't learned, right? That's how someone becomes bad to the bone. But if you get to the root of the structure, right, and do the inner healing that it takes to elevate, then a lot of things start to blossom for you, right? So this is attributed to that iron, that bone, that blood, being led in the right way, being a leader, right? And I say that because Saturn energy is that boss-like energy. Aries energy is the first zodiac sign. So that is the beginning. That is the leader, right? Leading in the right way, that cardinal energy, right? The start, the leader, the initiation, right? Okay, I'm going over my notes. And this is also about that masculine energy, right? Taking action in the right way, because Aries is attributed to masculine energy. Saturn is attributed to masculine energy. So this could be a time where we see the men rise, right? That masculine, shout out to all my masculine, shout out to the soul tribe, okay? But this is the time where we start to see the men go through their transformation, right? I feel like, to each his own. Everybody's at their own level. But generally, some people like to say that women mature a lot faster, right? Like I said, to each his own. We have some very wise men. I know I have some very wise men in my soul tribe. They're all very mature. But just, most men, they don't mature until a later age, right? So I feel like this will be a time where a lot of men will be coming into their higher selves, right? If you've been doing that work, right? I've been seeing a lot of men, healing themselves. And I love to see that. A lot of men honoring, every aspect of themselves, their divine feminine that lies within, and not seeming ashamed of that, right? Very confident in their masculinity, and they're able to, wear whatever they want to wear and not seem like they're going to be judged, or say what they want to say, healing themselves, getting those massages, getting those foot rubs, getting them pedicures and manicure, keeping up with yourself, right? Taking care of yourself. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And that's that sense of being confident in that masculine energy, right? Also, the sense of desires, right? Attracting people and your identity, right? I feel like this is going to be a huge time where people look at themselves, right? And really get in tune with who they truly are, their true identity, right? Because Saturn is all about the image and how people see you, right? But Aries is also attributed to my identity and how I see myself, right? So it's this beautiful polarity here when it comes to the mind, the body, the soul, and image, right? And breaking illusions of images as well, because you don't want to solely base your opinion off yourself, off of what other people's thinking at this time. Like I said, this is where we break those illusions and we get back to self. Okay. And breaking old limits. This is where we break free, right? Of old illusions of self, giving ourselves more patience, giving ourselves more grace. And these old limits that we put on ourselves. Oh, I can't do this. that's not even in our vocabulary anymore. We like, I can do this, and I'm going to put action behind it to manifest it, right? It's kind of giving me this, that supportive father figure, that supportive male figure in anyone's life, right? That's like, you can do it, right? Don't play with me now, but you can do it. It's this balance, when this tough love, right? It's still love there. I'm going to push you, but you got to do the work, right? Also not being impulsive, right? Because Aries energy is, like I said, it wants to be impulsive. It wants to do now, wants to act now, but you have to have patience when you plant those seeds to watch them fully bloom and grow and harvest. Okay. Also, I said new love. It's a sense of a new love, a new one coming in. That's been a energy that I've been getting. But it's kind of like a new person coming in, but it's an ancient soul, right? It's like this ancient energy. There's this return of this ancient energy when it comes to yourself, when it comes to soulmates, when it comes to memories, when it comes to the ancestors. It's like this ancient wisdom, ancient energy that is returning here. Okay. Because like I said, we had this transit in 1996. So that was like, technically, we're going to chalk it up to the game 30 years ago, you guys. That's a whole lifetime, right? That's a whole life sentence, right? So it's like, what have you learned? How have you grown, right? And you should be this new person, right? That Ouroboros, right? The snake eating its own tail, but also clearing out this old cycle, right? If you're not learning the lessons, yeah, you're going to keep going in that loop. You're going to be caught up in this loop. But if you're learning the lessons, you're breaking free of that, okay? Yeah, I said karmic cycles ending, new ones beginning for the past 3 years, right? If you've been doing that shadow work, self-work, and self-love and self-disciplines, you will receive rewards from this. Also, a huge quantum leap, a time machine, right? Just kind of going back in time. Even, like I said, nostalgia, listening to certain music. I know I've been, whoa, what is that? Some energy here, y'all. Just felt like something crawled up. It felt like a spider is crawling on my crown. I love it. And that's another thing. I was seeing a lot of spiders. So it's like this new weaving, this new getting in tune with yourself, this new network, right? That's when the internet had just came out too. Like, it was just starting up, right? So this like new network of interconnectivity and outer connectivity, as within, so without, as above, so below. Okay. Also like this bloodline energy being activated, ancestors, family, the lineage, the legacy, right? Because like I said, this is a whole lifetime, lifespans. Like I said, 3 generations, right? So you could be doing a lot of karmic work, healing a lot of karmic work from the past 3 generations, right? You cleared up, I'm hearing you cleared up a past karmic timeline from 3 generations, right? So the inner work that you're doing now is not only clearing karma from the past, but also helping it in the future for 3 generations. Wow. It's like this 3-6 energy. And that was another thing, right? A full 360, right? This energy happens on the 25th, right? The 24th through the 25th, and it happens at 3:36 a.m., right? That 3636, right? That 9. So it's a huge time for manifestation. Like I said, if you've been doing the work, you will see mystical and magical things happening at this time. good fortune, right? This wheel of fortune energy kept popping up, growth within yourself. After doing the inner work, you have this sense of emotional intelligence, right? When it comes to anger, when it comes to knowing yourself, right? You know what triggers you, right? It's not really the triggers aren't really triggering anymore because you've done the inner work, right? Oh, I know that's just an aspect of myself that I haven't healed yet. So I need to do a little bit more work so that way this doesn't affect me in that way anymore. Look at how much we have grown, you guys. I wasn't this way 3 years ago, right? I was still being triggered by ways of the past because I didn't do the inner work, right? And lashing out, right? And being angry and being upset and blaming other people and not taking accountability, right? But these past 3 years, I've changed tremendously because I've gone within and done that shadow work, right? I'm not blaming other people unless they need to take accountability, right? Right is right and wrong is wrong and truth is truth, right? But I'm taking accountability for my actions, right? And what I can change and what I can do to be better, right? And that comes from that inner work, that discipline. Okay? So letting things go as well. And also balancing under pressure, right? Leaders pushing forward, right? Because when I think of someone balancing under pressure, I think of leaders, right? Leaders get put under so much pressure and they have to balance that, right? Think of all the great leaders you know. They balance so much weight, so much hardship, right? And most of the time, you never see the leader sweat, right? They just keeping it calm. Okay, do this, do that, do that. They're managing everything, right? The manager never loses his cool, right? The boss never loses his cool. It's just managing everything, right? Taking care of everything, balancing everything under a lot of pressure. And we know pressure makes diamonds, right? Or bust pipes. Okay. So it's all about how you want to look at it. All right. I also said it's this lover energy, this nature energy, and mastering your lower nature, right? And I say that because of that Sinners energy, right? If you guys watch the movie Sinners, my whole thing was they let their emotional attachment to this realm get them caught up, right? If most of them were able to detach from certain things, they wouldn't have got bit, right? Don't let the energy in, right? Don't let the outside energy in, right? Because it's going to pull on these lower vibrations. It can't get to you. It has to pull you down. It has to trick you to come out, right? And that's kind of like that energy, right? If you let this lower vibrational energy, right, the enemy, which is really the inner me, right, get to you, that devil, the evils, right, get to you, then it's already done. But if you are combating this energy, if you are doing that internal work, going within to ascend, then that lower nature has no power over you. And that's how you reclaim your power and take your power back. Okay, you guys, it's mastering this flesh, mastering the desires and the cravings and the obsessions and the addictions, right? Kicking those things. But how do you do that? You have to go internal and face it. Okay. That's how you get down to that shadow work, y'all. It's lots of layers to it. And if y'all want to book some sessions to go a little deeper, okay, we can. If you feel called, right? If this message is resonating, you guys can book readings, book sessions. Because I love doing this type of stuff. Like I said, this is how I got here. This is how a lot of you have got here and mastered yourself and elevated, is by doing the shadow work, right? It's by doing that internal work. It can't just always be love and light and roses and rainbows and I'm sitting on cloud nine. In order to get cloud nine, you have to be rock bottom, right? And when you at the bottom, it's no place to go but up. Okay, now, like somebody holla if you hear me. Okay, because y'all like that. Somebody said, I love that saying. Yeah. All right, that's a 1996. That's Tupac. Okay. That's some old stuff. And I don't even know. That might be even more ancient than I know. Right. That's just when I heard it. So, yeah, it's this daredevil energy, right? This go-getter, like I said, this impulsiveness, but fighting for justice, this warrior, this emperor, you know, fighting this devil energy. And I say that because Aries in tarot is that emperor, right? That embodiment of that masculine. And then that Capricorn energy is attributed to the devil, right? So it's like this daredevil, confident energy, high vibrational, like, because you got to look at it from two different polarities, right? I never look at one thing in one light. Right? When I look at that God essence, it's yes, it's bliss, it's pureness. But if you let that God go to your head, right? That Godhead, then you're arrogant, then I know, ooh, this is taking me back to when I used to work at I used to work at the casino, and I loved it in the beginning, but then I hated it because my boss had power control issues. He let the power go to his head. He loved this sense of control, right? He wanted to control you, control everything, and I hated I hated it. I hate someone having dominion over me. I'm nobody's effing slave. I'm not your effing slave. You not my effing daddy, right? And it's taking me back to when I was in school. I got suspended because I told my PE teacher that. I said, you not my effing daddy. And it was so funny because he was trying to force me. Okay, as a woman, all right, yeah, I'm supposed to put on my PE clothes, but we gonna go there today. I was on my cycle and I wanted to leave my pants on, and I put my sweatpants over my pants. If you a woman, you already know what time it is, all right? It's a sense of feeling secure, right? It's a whole lot of things that comes with a cycle, right? That men don't know about, right? I'm not gonna go there because it's TMI, but let's just say, make a long story short, he seen that I had on my jeans under my sweatpants, and he told me to take my pants off. What? I said, I'm not taking off my pants. He said, and this is so, like, it's crazy because my perspective right now, I didn't even know I was tapping into some, okay, it's levels to what I'm saying. All right. But he was telling me to take my pants off. And I was like, no, I'm not about to take off my pants. He was like, if you don't go back to the locker room and take off them pants, I'm going to fail you. I said, you could fail me because you're not my effing daddy. And the whole classroom looked at me, and I could see the smirks in my friends' eyes, like, because I'm very calm. I'm very cool. I never be disrespectful. I respect my elders, but it was levels. I didn't even know I was being triggered. That's right. I was being triggered from something in my childhood, right? It just clicked just now, right? But he sent me to the office, right? And they called my parents. I'm in they would and it's crazy because I get to the office, and the principal's in there, the whole staff is in there, mind you. They're all women, mostly all women, right? I get in there and they're like, Diamond, what happened? And I tell them. They pull me to the back, close all the doors, and they bust out laughing. And I'm thinking I'm in big trouble because I did just cuss out the teacher. And I've never, that's out of my character. I don't do that. But like I said, I take accountability. I was in the wrong, right? I'm a child. I'm supposed to follow the rules, but I was being emotionally triggered, right? And they took me in the back. They laughed. They laughed. And I'm like, what are they laughing at? They said, Diamond, you absolutely right. He not your effing daddy. And I'm like, yo, the principal, right? This the day I found out, oh, my principal, right is right and wrong is wrong, right? He was trying to force me to what? And then I broke it down to them, and they was like, "Oh, baby, you good? Like, don't worry about that." They was like, he likes to have this. He likes to feel like he's in control. He's one of those passive aggressive people. He just likes to have this sense of dominance. And now that I'm playing it back in my mind, he probably didn't have, I hate to say this, but he probably didn't have no sense of control as a child, and became a teacher or a PE teacher to let out aggression and have this sense of dominance, this sense of reassurance, this sense of power, right? Just like some policemen, they, get bullied as kids, and it's this cycle. I want to bully people now, right? I want to have this sense of power. I want to take my power back, right? But it's not abusing your power, because he could have simply, he was trying to embarrass me. A whole nother story, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but it's a point I'm trying to make here, right? That I don't even know the point. What was I going on a tangent about, y'all? Willpower, right? A word for justice, all right? Liberation, victory, right? Anyways, yeah, make a long story short, they called my parents. My mom came down. She like, what's happened? I wasn't even in trouble. They suspended me for a day. I came back. They talked to him and told him, as a man, is certain things, blah, blah, blah. We left it at that. I still, nothing changed, but it was an unsaid agreement, that he was right and I was right, right? Because we're both right, right? What if both sides are both right, right? It's no need to argue, right? Truth is truth. I am supposed to be wearing my PE stuff, right? But as a woman going through this cycle, there are certain things that a lot of men don't understand that comes with that, right? And I was right to feel like that in that present time, right? So it's sometimes agreeing to disagree, right? It's no need to butt heads and be combative and fight and fight and fight and butt heads. Let's break this cycle, right? Okay, this a little emotional intelligence. Something I just learned over this past 3 years too. We can agree to disagree. We ain't got to argue. We ain't got to go back and forth, right? You feel that you right. Okay, I feel that I'm right. Okay, I feel that you wrong. You feel that I'm wrong. Let's take a step back, right? Okay, let's just end it. Let's just cut it. Let's a break, time out. Because I'm not one to I'm not a combative person, right? I'm not an arguing person. And that's another thing, right? There may be high emotional energy, high tension, this aggressive energy that is here because it's this masculine energy, right? We got Saturn, that's the father. We got Aries, that's the son, right? That's the prince, the Kents, the Kents by the prince and the king. Masculine energy going to war. Right? That dungeon dragon. The fire breathing dragon, right? I'm ready to go to war for what I believe in, right? So, but it's all about using that power for good, using that energy for good. Okay? All right now. And how do you balance that? Nurturing yourself, right? How do you balance this rah, 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 going within, breathing, getting out in nature, grounding yourself, right? The way to balance the masculine is to do more feminine, right? So playing, resting, right? Relaxing. Taking it easy. Okay? And it'll be rewards for that. Like I said, because you're breaking a cycle, right? That dharma, right? The scapegoat, the sea goat, right? You got to see these higher heights to be a goat, to go up that mountain, right? Or like I said, or you could be the scapegoat, right? Running away from these problems and not facing them. But what goes around comes around, that dharma, that karma. And I seen, oh my goodness, y'all, I seen karma working in real time. I know y'all hear that. I seen karma working in real time yesterday. And I hate, oh my God, I hate to tell this story, but I gotta tell it. Okay, this is another story time, y'all. I'm taking my kids to the park so we can have a picnic for his school. Okay. Before we go, we're getting stuff for our picnic. I go to the grocery store. I am in line getting ready to check out. I forgot a fork for my salad. I tell my son, can you go get a fork from the deli? Right? I can see him. It's a quick, you know, go get a fork from the deli ask the lady for a fork. He said, okay, mommy. Right? I see him. I'm ringing up the stuff. I'm already done ringing up the stuff. He still hasn't came back. I'm like, okay. I go to the deli. I'm not going to say what ethnicity these women are, but they acting like they don't hear my son. I could see my son asking him, hey, can I get a fork? So I step up. I'm like, hello, excuse me. They still acting like they don't see me. So I wait patiently. I'm being patient. I'm being calm. Right? I was so centered yesterday. Right? And it's a point I'm making here about karma. So like I said, if you was still with me, shout out Soul Tribe. I know I'll be having some good stories. Okay. I'm a good storyteller. Okay. So I wait for the lady to come back. She's like, next. She don't even look at me. She say, next. The lady beside me that was next she points to me. She's like, she just wanted to get a fork. The lady look at me. She like, oh, okay. She go to the back. She get a fork. Right? Okay. I get the fork. I say, thank you. You have a nice day. I say, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm not cutting. She was like, no, it's okay. I still don't even know what I want. She's still looking at stuff that she want. I'm like, okay, cool. We getting ready to leave now. Lord forgive me, I don't mean to laugh. It's two ways to exit out of the grocery store, right? I'm coming in the entrance, right? I'm not supposed to be going out the entrance way, but this is the quickest way. I'm not rushing, but I'm just like, okay, this path is more easier for me. So I'm going out the front way. As I'm going out the front way, the doors close, right? So as the door closed, my son gets pushed behind the doors, right? And the doors start beeping. The security comes. She looks at me. She looks at my son. She just opens it up because I know I'm in the wrong. I said, I'm sorry. She said, it's okay, right? It's okay. I'm like, all right. She opens up the door, go to get my son. When she goes to get my son, her drinks spill, right? Her drinks spill. She walked my son around the other way. As she's walking my son around the other way, a man walks on her drink, slips and fall. Right? It's all this commotion. I'm like, I'm so sorry. The security lady like, it's okay. I'm like, okay. I get my kids. We go to the car. My son said, Mommy, that was all your fault. I said, baby, I said, you see how all that crazy commotion just happened? And then I'm like, damn, well, was it my fault? Spirit said, no, that was not your fault. Right? And I'm like, but why? Why wasn't that my fault? Spirit said that was the store's fault because that lady wasn't giving you your fork. In reality, how I felt, she was being racist. She didn't even want to acknowledge my existence. She didn't even look at me. Right? So by her not giving my son the fork, right, which caused a time and delay, because if my son would have went up to the stand. Hey, excuse me, can I get a fork? She seen him. Oh, here's your fork. He would have came back. We would have went out the right way. Right? I see it from all different sides, baby. Right? But since she didn't, she was being neglective, racist, having a bad day, whatever it was, because I felt her energy, right? I could feel her energy. It was low vibrational. She was probably was mad to be there. She probably didn't want to be at work. It was one of those, right? But I'm just being love and light, being nice, being polite, being patient, right? Because I see it on you, right? I mean, come on now, y'all. I'm an energy reader. I'm a whole oracle out here. I read her whole energy down. So I'm like, let me just alchemize the energy, right? So Spirit said, no, that's from her being a bitch and not giving your son the fork to where you had to come back and get the fork. Then you had to go the wrong way, which caused you to go out the wrong way, which caused the lady to spill her drink, which caused that man to slip and fall. Now that's a lawsuit on them. And I was like, ooh. And then I said that to my son. I said, baby, that's called karma, right? And yes, it was my fault. I take full accountability. But when I look at the bigger picture, if the lady would have just given us the fork when we asked for it, that would have avoided all of that, right? Two different timelines we on. And I seen both of the timelines and I'm just like, whoa, karma and dharma is real. So now they got a lawsuit due to someone being racist and ignoring my son and me at someone else's expense. I hate to say it, but and it was so funny because when we got in the car, my son was like, Mom, look at all that trouble. I said, you see all that chaos energy? Right. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, was that really me? And then Spirit was like, yeah, but no. Right. If that lady, and I was like, oh, I said, oh my goodness. I said, look at karma, look at God, look at the Most High, look at how that energy come back. Cause you doing a chosen one. You don't even know I'm chosen for real, for real. And my magic works in mysterious ways. Right. That's one thing you got to learn when you're a chosen one too. You got to learn to master your energy. Right. Cause it had been some times I got angry at certain people and that karma that come back on them. I'll be like, ooh, show them mercy, get them mercy. Right? Because they don't know. They don't really know who they messing with. Right? I'm divinely protected, divinely guided. Right? The man didn't hurt himself for real, y'all. Honestly, what I think happened, he seen that juice there and he was like, he was like, he was like, this a loss, this free money, right? I'm about to slip and fall. Because it was only a little bit of juice, right? And I'm just like, anyway, karma, dharma, right? It comes back fast and it's coming back around faster than you think, right? A lot of people receiving karma, right? A lot of judgment, a lot of justice, a lot of victory, right? I just had to share that story because I seen karma work like that, the domino effect, right? The timeline, I seen it work like I've never seen it work like that, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. Okay, all right. A sense of timelines, deja vu, Mandela effect. Okay, a sense of independence, right? Okay, my bad, y'all. Let me rewind it back. Okay, so yeah, there's victory after the war. That goes back to what I was talking about. Spirit said running back, victory after the war, because I felt like I was in a spiritual warfare, but I came out victorious. I hate to say it. Spirit said, say it. Okay. All right. Now we about to get into this 19. As we're talking about going back, right? The inner child, right? Inner teen, a sense of nostalgia, time traveling, right? Since I'm getting hit with all these memories and all these things of the past that are coming back to me to prove a point, to make a point. All right. Let's tap into this 1996 energy. Wow, what a great time to be alive, right? Golden era. This is beautiful time, right? I'm just going to run down some things. Very nurturing time, very inner child. Tap into that inner child, that inner teen, depending on how old you were during this time. Okay, I was 6. All right. A sense of this independence, right? Everybody was feeling, getting on that grind, a lot of hustlers, a lot of, independent music, independent films, right? Just independence, right? Also a sense of Independence Day, right? Getting that victory, right? In multiple ways. That's like a triple entendre. Because I think of Independence Day, I think of the movie, right? When the aliens came, right? Independence Day, that victory, where, the United States gains its independence, or any independence, right? But it's also victory, right? In alien movies, all right? Will Smith, right? That he was getting a lot of movie breaks, right? And Will Smith, right? I love that because at my will, I'm able to smith. I'm able to make things, right? A smith, a silversmith is someone who makes things, right? Willing my desires, willing my reality into existence. Okay. All right. Spice Girls. This is when Spice Girls was, debuting. I'm a big ass Spice Girls fan. What? I love the Spice Girl. You couldn't tell me nothing. What? I was for sure heavily programmed. I know every song, right? And then when I think of Spice Girls, right? Spice, a spicy girl, right? Like I said, that Saturn Aries energy, right? Spicy, right? That masculine energy, the empowerment, that independence, coming into this feminine energy, right? I am a royal ruler. That's when they really started pushing, independent women, right? Strong feminine, right? Confident feminine, divine feminine, right? Also a lot of divine love. What? Every R&B song was about love and marriage, and don't listen to what people say. They don't know about you and me. Put it out your mind, 'cause it's jealousy. They don't know about this. Okay, come on now. That was what? That was a golden time for R&B, for music, for movies. I mean, what? And I feel like we're on the brink of that, especially with that Sinners, right? We starting to get a couple of good movies, right? Good kids movies, right? This was, Aladdin. What are some other good kids movies? It was a lot. It's too many. I didn't write them all down. I mean, I wrote down some, but it was a lot of good movies. All right. Tupac, okay, released All Eyes on Me. What? That is first off, that is my song. All Eyes on Me. Dun, 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 dun. All Eyes on Me. Okay. What? And that was his last album. If you know, you know. I believe he died 6 months no, he got shot 6 days after that and died or something like that. It was something weird with the 666, right? With that energy. Let me see. I'm about to go look it up. Brace patience, okay? Okay, September 7th, 1996. He died 6 days later. He got shot. Wow. Um, February, March, April, May, June, July, September. Ooh, I'm spot on. I'm spot on. Okay, so I just wanted to double check before I say that because, like I said, I don't say anything for anything. But Tupac released All Eyes on Me in February, right? 6 months later, he gets shot. He dies 6 days later, right? 6 months after he dies, Biggie gets killed, right? Do y'all see this six? Like I said, this 666 energy. All right, now, because like I said, I don't say, and I don't do anything for anything, right? Woo! All right. Wow, the synchronicity on that. That's crazy. I'm seeing a lot of 11. They said he on September 7th at 11:15 p.m. was shot in a drive-by, right? And I got 117 on here, 11, and then I got 11. So 11 may be, I'm gonna get into the numerology later, but that's just interesting how that just popped up and I had to go in. But spirit said you on point. That 6, right? I just went in on that 6, that carbon, right? Okay, Jay-Z released Reasonable Doubt, right? Some people still like to argue this was one of his best albums ever. Like he said, if you want that old Jay-Z, you got to go listen to that old Jay-Z, okay? He's still, relevant and popping till this day. He's also on the opposite axis of Gemini, Sagittarius, right? If you know, you know. All right. Also, I said there would be something with Mexico and UK, right? Something happened during this 2 to 3 year period with Mexico and UK, because that's where this energy is fixated in. And during that time, it was a lot of Mexican things popping off, a lot of UK things popping off. Okay. And Atlanta, ATL. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, wow. Releasing something's going to be happening, with ATL, Atlanta, Georgia, right? Because the ATL Olympics, right, happened, and they got bombed. Like, what? This is the Olympics, and it got bombed, right? All right. I don't know. G20 Aztec. I don't even know why I wrote that down, but I wrote it down. And then something with Moors. Oh, I said that because of Mexico, right? Let me look this up because I wrote these notes I wrote these notes on the 8th. So I wrote these notes in the beginning of the year. I mean, the beginning of the month. Y'all gotta excuse me. But I wanna read why I put this here. Oh, wow. Okay. So G20 Aztecs, right, is basically a intergovernmental forum of the world's 20 major economies playing a crucial role in international economy corporation. Okay. So bank governor discuss international. Wow, it's considered Aztec red, the infinity G20. Huh. And G is the 7th letter in the alphabet, right? That God. And then 20, that is 9, that completion. Wow. 29. Wow. Okay. So yeah, a lot of economic things happening, which we're seeing right now, right? So, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I feel like this is where the Moors, the indigenous people, come into play, and we start to rise into power with this whole economic system falling, crashing, and the inflation, right? We're seeing all this stuff is happening in real time right now, and it's only going to increase as the time goes on because Saturn isn't even all the way in Aries yet, right? I'm doing this before so we can prepare, but it's going to intensify, right? Because Saturn is going to go retrograde and it's going to go back into Pisces, and it's going to come out in October. And that's when I'm hearing all hell breaks loose, right? So it's going to be something, all hell breaks loose for them because we're going to rise in power, right? October is a very transformative month for melanated beings and spiritual conscious beings this year, right? That's when we get initiated into the spiritual realm even higher. That's when we get crowned. Okay, that's just what I'm getting. So it's going to be a lot of things popping off during that time. All right. So let me take it back. Let me pull it back one time. Okay. Mexico is on the 20th to 30th ley line, as is ATL is on the 33rd parallel, right? Baja California is on the 32nd parallel, right? And then the UK is on the 50 to 60 parallel. So I kept getting this 3 and 6 energy, which is 369 energy, right? Also, I did a little gematria, right? And I did gematria on Spice Girls. I don't know why, but I did. And then the White Rabbit came up. Chosen Ones came up. It came out to 11/7, 117. And Crystals, Astro Body, Fortnite came up. Okay. And I was like, so we may look out for those things. Okay. We already getting those crystal light body activations, right? The song even came on as soon as I cut it on, right? I know, like I said, a lot of people talking about they feeling the energy. So this is going to be a huge, these next 2 to 3 years are going to be huge, huge. All right. Doubling down on it. All right. Also, speaking of numbers, that year the Olympics was in Atlanta, Georgia. They got 44 gold medals. Okay. Taking it back to the 8, right? That breaking out that loop, that infinite, right? They got 44 gold medals, and who got it? The dream team, right? The dream team in basketball. They, I think it was like 108 altogether, but that year they had got 44 gold medals, which I thought was amazing. Microsoft Explorer, right? 3.0 had just came out, right? Like I said, the internet was just getting popping. This was a great, oh my goodness, who knows PopCap? All right. LimeWire. Okay, come on now. This is burning CD. This is CDs and cassettes. This is the transition from cassettes to CDs. Come on now, y'all. Who remembers that transition? All right. This is a huge pivotal moment. All right. Osama bin Laden declaration of war to the USA to occupy 2 holy lands. Okay, now, like I said, I did my research. I was going deep on this one. These are all things that happened in 1996. Right? Okay. What was this? The Magdalene Fallen Women, 30,000 closed institution were, they closed the institution in Ireland. It was called the Magdalene Fallen Women, right? And it was basically this institution with psychotic women who were, we're just going to say, abused. Okay, you guys can go look it up. But they closed this facility at that time. And it was like a liberation for women, right? A place where they deemed women crazy due to certain things. They finally closed it down in Ireland, which I thought was beautiful. And I did the gematria on fallen women, and 44 popped up. I said, whoa, 44, huh? This beautiful 44, this 8 energy. Okay. Also, it was a nuclear war that happened, a global reset. Okay. Slipknot. I don't know why that's coming out. 22 and Agent Smith. Okay, I think I did the gematria on fallen woman. These were the words. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did the gematria on fallen women. And Father Son came out, Aries and Saturn. Thursday had came out, and I was doing this, taking my notes on a Thursday, right? 85 came out in 8 and 5. I did it on 5/8, right? Nuclear war came out. We already know what time it is with that. Is there not wars everywhere all over the world? What do they call that? And they trying to keep it quiet. What do they call that? If you know, you know. I'm not trying to get my page. I just got it monetized. I'm not trying to get it demonetized already. Okay, I want to keep this video up. Y'all could do the research though. Global Reset, Slipknot 22, Agent Smith. Okay, we already know what Agent Smith is all about, right? Okay. Ooh, one of my favorites, Nintendo 64 was released. Okay. What? Locked me into the Matrix. Okay. I'm stuck in the Matrix. Okay. When this dropped out, who was not caught up in the Matrix when Nintendo 64 came out? Okay. What? That's pure nostalgia. Okay. I had some of the best moments. All right. And speaking of games, all right, they're dropping GTA 6. Okay. And this is about the lovers. Because mind you, this happens in Gemini season, right? All of this happens in Gemini season. And I'm been talking about that Saturn energy, that lower nature, that devil, right? The illusion, right? But the opposite, the devil card in tarot is 15. 1 and 1 plus 5 makes 6. 6 is June, right? 6 in tarot is the Lover's card, and Lover's card is attributed to Gemini, right? How do you combat that evil with love? How do you combat hate with love, right? And I'm saying all of this because GTA 6 is about a couple. I think you can even be the woman in the game. That's revolutionary, right? All of these GTAs. Like I said, I'm a big gamer. If y'all don't know, baby, Call of Duty, you would have got it. Okay. If you met me 10 years ago, you would have got it as some Call of Duty. Okay. But I love video games. I've always been a gamer. So I thought this was fascinating that GTA 6 is coming out. And if you know anything about GTA 6, I think they do a drop every 5 years, every 10 years. I can't really remember. I think it's every 5 years. But yeah, GTA 6 is coming out, and it's about ride or die. Ride or die. Okay. Somebody that's down for you. It's about lovers. It's about a couple. It's about the woman, right? The gangster woman, right? I said the spicy girl, the spice girl. What? Because if you know anything about GTA, you already know what time it is. All right. That Gemini energy, that duality, that couples, that twin flame. Spicy. Spicy. Okay. Wow. Space Jam. This was, come on, that's self-explanatory. And the whole thing about Space Jam is this was about someone here on Earth that had to defend his power against aliens and entities, bad alien entities that came here stealing energy harvesting. Okay. And at the end of the day, he had to fight, win, and he was victorious. Okay. Shout out to MJ, all the goats out there. All right. But yeah, Space Jam. I mean, come on. That was a legendary movie. All right. Speaking of basketball, okay, Shaq made his debut to the LA Lakers against the Suns. Okay. And Kobe Bryant, the GOAT, the Mamba, okay, was the youngest at the time, 18 years old in the NBA. Youngest, okay? So these are major shifts within the game, okay? Major shifts within the game. And if you notice, there's a lot of melanation going on, okay? I love it. Melanation and elevation, okay? Elevation of the melanation, okay? I love it. Melanation, that's a thing. So yes, Star Trek first premiered. All right. The Simpsons. Okay. And when I think of that, speaking of Simpson, OJ Simpson, okay, he was doing his whole trial thing during his time. So, I mean, the whole Simpson energy. The first images of Pluto, which took me back to the first images under the pyramid, right? So it's this generational full cycle thing that is happening, okay? Going back to Mamba, all right? That Mamba, that goat, that 8, right? Because I believe his numbers was what? 8 and 24, right? Yeah. And then Michael Jordan was 2-3, right? Yeah, this 8 and this 2-3, this 2-4, right? Things going up, right? And the 2-3, if you add the 2-3 together, that's 5. Okay? So it's a lot of this 8 and this 5 energy kept popping up. Okay, that strength, that Leo, that empowerment, okay? But yeah, it was a lot of things that happened during this year. Okay? And then it also makes me think of just what a time to be alive. Is this, a lot of West Coast energy with that LA Lakers, the Mamba, the GOAT, right? And when I think of it right now, we just had the All-Stars in the Bay, right? We're going to have the Super Bowl in the Bay Area, California, right? It's going to be in San Francisco, Santa Clara, right? And then after that, it's going to LA, the Super Bowl after that, right? Or the All-Stars. I can't remember, but it's a lot of West Coast energy that they're like conjuring up. Okay, like I said, the Tupac, the Biggie, the Shaq, the Kobe, it's all happening on the West Coast. So it's something, the OJ Simpson trial, something percolating up over here. Okay. Just be mindful of that. Okay. I also said this is a great time for spiritual ascension, rewards for the physical discipline. Okay. It's going to be a lot of divine intervention when it comes to following your soul mission. And I say that because, like I said, it's Saturn and Neptune, both in Aries, right? Then we have this Venus and Chiron also in Aries. So it's a lot of energy in Aries. And then it's also sextile to Pluto in Aquarius and sextile to Uranus in Taurus and Mercury. Okay, so our unique values pay off now and in the future. And if you're focused on your growth, your internal growth, following those heart's desires, those heart's passion, right? Due to this being trine Mars in Leo, then you'll be in a spotlight. There's something that's destined for you: fame, fortune, abundance, right? Because the North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. Okay. So this is like your soul being lit up, right? That spirit being lit, that spark, that flame. right? The spiritual foundation and the physical foundation being ignited. Things that are hidden coming to light. This could be surprises, shocking events, right? And your cup being filled, right? A sense of past tense, your cup being filled. It's already filled, baby. It's already done, right? And then there's 3 layers to this energy, right? The higher, the middle, and the lower, right? As above, so below. But you are the mediator, the median, right? Also, this web, this net, this internet space, yourself, right? I kind of broke that down. I'm just running through my notes. The star, you being the star, the bell of the ball, right? And those being ignited, like your star power being ignited. And I said all of this because of the way that the chart looks. The chart to me looks like a cup. It looks like a cup. It looks like a house. It looks like something being open, right? Right, the star, this pentagon. It's a lot here, okay? Then I said things are starting to take off. The 6 of Swords energy, right? Because it looks like a boat. It looks like a boat taking sail, right? I don't even know what I wrote right here. Okay, this is like something that was small getting bigger and bigger, right? Unexpected things happening, things blowing up, double up, right? Synchronicities, enlightenment. Okay. All right. So those were just some of the things that I seen in the chart. I'm going to tap into my meditation. All right. Things that came up during my meditation. And I had seen, as soon as I got into the meditation, I seen a heart, a small heart, and it got bigger. Right. So that's going back to that bigger and better energy. Right. Because Aries is the beginning. Right. It's the first. Right. But then Saturn is the 10th. That's that 11th. That's greater. That's expansion. Right. Your 10th house will be highlighted. Your careers will be highlighted. Right. Whatever you've been working on being highlighted. Synchronicities. Right. I also seen that heart made like an echo. Right. And it's giving me a sense of like heart palpitations, heart activations, but I seen a heart and it like doubled up and then it like turned into like a purse, right? So your heart being filled up with good things, fill your heart up with good things during this time. Okay. The treasure chest, right? The treasure chest. Ooh, the bars, baby, the bars and the double entendres. I can't take it. But yes, the treasure chest, right? You are the treasure chest. Things splitting, a timeline split. And as things begin to split, have patience, give yourself grace, right? Partnerships, relationships, I kind of went over that. And being an open book, right? Because I seen like a book and it was open. Right. And as the book was open, it like turned a page. So this is most definitely a new page in the book, right? You're writing your own chapter. You are a master manifester. You can manifest whatever reality you want. Okay. Just by a simple thought and simple actions. Maybe not so simple, but hey, you get the point. You get the point. All right. And it's about, you know, a new chapter with self-love, a new chapter with love, a new chapter with the Most High, right? Whatever you want it to be, it will be. Okay. Scrolls, right? Destiny, karma, the home, the foundation, dreams, and lots of confirmation on this, right? 555 came up. So a lot of changes from the past. Okay. A life cycle partner, Okay. Cause I had seen Kobe sitting down with a trophy, right? And I don't know if y'all remember, but like I said, the 555, he had 5 championships. And on that one where, his most iconic one where he's holding a trophy, but he's looking down, he's looking sad, is due to, they said, this is what they said. I don't know how true it is, but they said it's because his family was upset that he married his wife, or he was in a relationship with his wife. Right. So just follow your heart, because she was, I mean, come on now. She's RIP, the GOAT. She's still, it's a life partner. It's unbreakable, baby. All right. So that, but being victorious and being happy that you won, right? There would be some type of reward, an unexpected reward coming in. Okay. And cravings, right? Cravings within the bloodline, right? Your authentic roots, right? This is something your ancestors desired, right? For you to have this internal fulfillment, for you to step up to the plate, right? And get things done, right? On all levels. I kept getting like this ancient Africa, Kemetic, Alkebalan energy, this Nubian, Kush bloodline, right? What is your bloodline craving, right? Your bloodline was craving a breakthrough of the karmic loops, okay? You fed the ancestors by breaking through the karmic loops. Yes. And then I heard cheering, right? This is all during my meditation, y'all. Okay. And that's what the trophy is. You won at breaking through this loop, right? It may not have been easy, but now it's time to celebrate, right? We got the hard work done. All work. Now it's time to play. All right. It's a new chapter. You opened up to this part, and it is unwritten. It's unwritten for you to create it, for you to write it. And it's unlimited possibilities. Okay. My heart chakra kept going off during the meditation. So this means a lot of love, a lot of abundance, a lot of power. Okay. You have the knowledge, you have the power, and don't abuse it. And then I seen a crown, and they crowned me, and they bowed down, right? To royalty. Okay. So yeah, those were my notes. That was my breakdown. I just felt like it was a lot of things happening, transpiring, beautiful essence here. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of good, a lot of empowerment, a lot of shifts that take place. And we have completed that old cycle, you guys. There's no more, it's done. It's done. Watch all the new abundant things that come to pass. Okay. So yeah, that is my energy reading. I think that was enough, right? I think you guys got some good, gems out of this. And if you guys feel free, you can always tap into readings or any other things. All of it's in the description box. All right. And I love you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.